Namaste, I'm Shiva Swati, and this video is about relationships and why do we experience breakups, especially when we love someone very much. So, there are several breakups which are happening without any reason, and a lot of it is due to past lives of trauma, of disappointment, and of black magic. Now, most people would not believe in black magic because they do not understand the science behind it. But if you understand how thought transfers and how telepathy works and how energy movements happen, if you are an empath and a compassionate person, you will realize that your thought transfers to other people and you catch on other people's thoughts. And if anyone says anything bad about you or thinks bad about you with a lot of intensity, you can catch bad energy from that person. And black magic happens almost the same way, except that a god energy is used to transfer that black energy, and some symbol, some metaphor, like there is a sacrifice of an animal, a goat, or a blood, and you add it in the food and you make the other person eat it, or you make the other person smell it. So somewhere it reaches his or her sense organs and she is affected by it. So that is how black magic works, and usually people do it in vengeance without realizing the deep impact it can have over lifetimes and over their own lives. So a person who does black magic will suffer a lot himself or herself also. It is usually reversed. If not in the same span of time, in the same life, it will get reversed, and people who do black magic will catch diseases, will catch a lot of tension, anxiety, depression. And you can do black magic in one lifetime because you are conditioned into it, or you are brought up in that family and you cannot escape that, being a witch or being a sorcerer. But over future lifetimes, when you want to get out of this hell kind of life and you want to be good, this black magic which you have done on other people will affect you, and it will affect your own relationships. So even if you have done black magic on other people, it can affect your own relationships, and your own relationships can go bad. So normally this is a taboo word. You can't use black magic and things like that. Kala jadoo. People think, what is this? But as a scientist, as a psychologist, and I have studied it scientifically, I know that it works because energy moves in thought waves and like sound waves or light waves. And when we remove black magic, the person feels a lot less anxious. Anxiety reduces, depression reduces, and this cannot reduce while removing black magic if black magic had not worked. So it is going away by removing black magic because that was done in a previous life. And by that same definition, the past life exists, because by healing a past life, if your present life becomes good, that means that the past life existed. Or you can also say that you are catching on stories from other people, and you are displaying it on your own self, but it is too intense. People cry a lot, and people feel the same emotions which they have been wanting to feel since lifetimes, the happiness, the joy, the connection, and you cannot feel so much unless you actually lived that life. So it is very, very intense. If you record a past life, the face of the person, it requires a lot of technology to record it, because the person is speaking very slowly and very intensely. So I don't record it because I don't have the technology. So, and I don't, people who come to me, clients, want confidential sessions, so I don't record it. If someone wants it recorded, they can bring their technology and I can do the session. So basically, a lot of relationships break down because there is black magic, and one person has evolved to be spiritual and get out of the black magic, but the other person is still very much materialistic and very much caught by that black magic, by his choices or by her choices and by her decisions. And disbelief in God or disbelief in black magic also keeps you captivated in that magic. So a lot of relationships break down simply because there have been misunderstandings and black magic done over lifetimes, and this is a reason for divorce and separation also. We cannot always remove the black magic, but when we can, the relationship improves a lot. For example, I had a client recently, and she was very much in love with a person, and they had broken up for some reason, and then she saw that they had two abortions also, and she saw that the child that was aborted was someone who had killed her in a past life. And he was probably her lover, and in a drunk state he had killed her, and he was probably causing problems, because of which the breakup happened, and the soul of the child, and the child was aborted. The child wanted to be born again, and he could be born only through if they met again. So she had come for a session, and it got sorted out that the man she's seeing, he is the one, and unless there's a parallel life to him, and they can patch up and get married. So this was shown in her future regression, that she can marry that person. God showed it. So this happens, that you see things in a future regression. Now, if it happens, if the man is ready, of course it happens. And if the man is not ready, a parallel life can come in his place, and you have to accept the parallel life, because if it is a soul contract, it is very difficult to not marry that person. Even if there are differences in spirituality, it is very difficult to not marry that soul, because you are tied up in a contract with him, and that contract moves over lifetimes. So it's sort of that you have to get married to that person to move on with your own life, and to give peace to your soul. So you will find that you have a lover, and then even if it breaks up, you find someone else who's very similar to him, and you get married to that person. In temperament, the people are very similar, because it's the same soul carried over. The same soul can have 4 or 5 lifetimes. Like a filter of water can be filled in 5 bottles of water. Similarly, a big soul can enter 5 human bodies at the same time, and several animal bodies. So for different experiences. And so if you have a soul contract, it is very difficult to walk out of a relationship, and you may not get married if you refuse that person, because there is a soul contract and you are tied up with him or her. So you have to remove the soul contract, and it is not always possible to remove it. If it is possible to remove it, if your soul agrees to remove it, then you will get married to someone else. Otherwise, you need to develop the patience to marry that same person, that same soul, in whichever form he comes. But it has to be a form which is acceptable to you, and which meets your needs, your financial needs at least, or your emotional needs. It cannot be someone who is totally irresponsible. Because if it's totally irresponsible, then you have a right to say that I cannot get married to this person. But if that person meets your needs, emotional and financial and security needs, then you cannot say no, even if you don't think alike totally. So some marriages are made in heaven actually, and even if you have drifted very far apart spiritually over lifetimes, even then you are attracted to that person, and you want to marry that person only because it was a soul contract, and both of you were meant to evolve together. So you get a different level of salvation. You may get a higher level of salvation, and the other person may get a lower level of salvation, but you will both be able to exit from the planet and start a new wave of lifetimes if you stay together with patience with each other, and can die with contentment and happiness. So death with contentment and happiness is very important to get salvation. Otherwise, you don't get salvation. You cannot die in shock, or sacrifice your life and expect salvation. You will not get it as a fanatic. You will get salvation only if you die with contentment and you have positive state of mind. Because for salvation, there should be no desire left. And when you die with contentment, you release all desires, and then you die, then you get salvation, and you can exit the planet. So relationships are en route to salvation. Sometimes you simply marry because you have to teach another person to get salvation, and the other person is with you because they need a guide for salvation. And you have to be patient with each other and not break up, not block each other, so that you both get salvation and can reach higher realms of happiness. Thank you.